Welcome to The Explainer. So today we are unpacking a concept that is, well, it's quite literally the ultimate financial lever. If you're just totally exhausted by the endless paycheck to paycheck cycle and you want to know the actual secret to breaking free and building real lasting wealth, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to look at a very specific threshold that can completely change the trajectory of your life. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. $100,000. You know, the data points to a very specific, kind of shocking truth. This exact number is the thing that quietly separates the people who stay stuck for life from those who eventually build real wealth. But, and this is a massive but, there's a catch. The absolute key here is that this specific number has to sit completely untouched in your account. It's literally the dividing line between those who just make money and those who actually keep it.
And guys, when we say untouched, we really mean it. This is the number that changes everything, but only if you leave it alone. Let's be crystal clear about this. This is not money for a shiny new car, it's not for a lavish wedding, and it is definitely not a house down payment that you're just going to immediately drain right back down to zero. If you can actually reach this milestone and fight off that urge to spend it, you've already outworked like 90% of the people around you. Seriously. And once you cross this line, getting to a full million, it actually becomes way easier than you might think. But here's the uncomfortable truth of the matter. Most people will go their entire lives without ever seeing this much money in one place. And why is that? Well, it's not bad luck. It's the constant slow leak of small spending decisions. You know those everyday choices that feel entirely harmless in the moment? Yeah, they're quietly draining every single dollar before it even has a chance to grow. Hitting that $100,000 mark is the exact point where your money stops just covering your basic life expenses and actually starts working a second job for you, around the clock.
Section 2, buying real financial confidence and buying true freedom.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Look, $10,000 is great, but it's fragile. It can disappear in a single medical emergency, right? And then boom, you're right back at the starting line, stressed out and scrambling. But $100,000? That is impenetrable armor. It becomes this absolute force that nobody in your life can push around simply because you're no longer terrified of losing your income. It gives you the ultimate freedom, the freedom to just say no. Having this level of cushion fundamentally changes your leverage in life. Like the source says, you can take 2 or 3 months to find something better instead of just grabbing the first offer out of pure fear. I mean, think about it. This changes how you walk into a negotiation, how you handle a toxic relationship, or even how you speak to a really difficult boss. And it's not about arrogance at all. It's true financial confidence. It means you can actually pause, take a breath, and make choices for your long-term future rather than just reacting out of panic or desperation. Section 3. The math to 1 million and scaling up your wealth.
All right, before we look at the hard numbers, we really have to clear something up. Real wealth building? It's kind of boring, and it's steady. It relies on planning, tracking, and utilizing low-cost index funds that average about 8 to 10% a year. Please, do not confuse this with that whole get-rich-quick mindset. As the source material perfectly puts it, getting rich quick is honestly just gambling wearing a nicer outfit. It's literally nothing more than chasing overnight wins. But the shift in your brain, the discipline required to actually plan and track your money, that transformation is worth way more than the money itself.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the actual timeline to $1 million. Check out that first bar. If you take that $100,000 and just let it sit there and grow at roughly 8 to 10% a year, you do not need 40 years to reach $1 million. No way. You're looking at about 15 years of consistent, patient growth. But look at the second bar. If you had even a really modest amount of new savings every single year on top of that original base, that timeline shrinks down to roughly 10 years. 10 years. This is exactly why wealthy people obsess over long-term thinking. Time literally becomes your most powerful weapon. Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds a smarter money split, focusing on strategic allocation. So instead of keeping all your money in one place doing one single job, the source outlines this highly intentional split. First, keep 50% completely safe, like put it in a high-yield savings account, so you can sleep peacefully at night no matter what happens in the crazy world around us. Then take a third, so about 33%, and invest it directly into yourself. We're talking real education, valuable mentorship, or just connecting with people who are further along than you are. Finally, that remaining 17%, that becomes your test fund for a small business idea. By treating this whole thing as a calculated experiment, you don't need every single attempt to succeed. You can fail twice and still come out ahead because, hey, the third attempt is often the one that finally breaks through. Section 5. Surviving the self-sabotage trap and defeating your own mind. This brings us to a really critical question. Why do so many people grind, hustle, delay gratification, and finally reach this incredible $100,000 milestone only to wipe it all out and go right back to zero? Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. The mind is a master negotiator against your own progress. Right at that exact moment you finally have real money, this little voice starts whispering to you. It tells you that, you deserve a better car, or that everyone else around you already has a bigger place, that you've worked really hard and you should just enjoy it right now. And just like that, with one simple swipe of a credit card, years of intense discipline just disappear overnight. Poof, gone. You have to remember what that money actually represents to you. It's your ticket out of a cycle you have hated for years. It is not a ticket for some temporary luxury purchase. So the crucial point is that if you feel nowhere close to this number right now, if it just feels totally impossible, that is completely normal. Seriously, every single person who reaches this milestone started exactly where you are today. It all comes down to quiet discipline. You got to keep saving on the boring weeks. You have to actively choose to say no to those small, unnecessary purchases when absolutely nobody is watching or keeping score. Your only job right now is to fiercely protect that first $100,000 and to rely on solid systems and patience rather than just raw willpower.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to remember this simple truth. Consistency compounds quietly in the background long before you ever see the spectacular results show up on a screen. Look, going from $0 to $100,000, that requires immense willpower, self-discipline, and a whole lot of delayed gratification. And honestly, that alone eliminates most of the competition. But going from 100,000 to a full million, that depends on patience, systems, and compound growth. The money's gonna do the heavy lifting if you just let it. Which brings me to a final question I want to leave you with today. Are your daily spending habits building impenetrable armor for your future? Or are they quietly negotiating against your own freedom?